cactus and succulent growers, I'm Lynn, and welcome to Desert Plants of Avalon in the north of Ireland. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my Perodia magnifica cactus, also known as Notocactus magnificus, that I have grown for 25 years, and a bit about the history and how I care for it. Now here is the gorgeous Perodia magnifica that I have grown for, I say 25 years, it could be 26 years, could be 24 years, I can't remember the exact date when I got this Perodia, but I was in my early 20s anyway, and I got it from a garden centre in Solihull, Shirley Solihull, close to Birmingham, where I used to live. And when I got it, it was just a small head, about the size of this one here, just one head on its own. And over the years, it has grown all of these awesome, amazing, multiple pups all around the base. It is absolutely gorgeous, and I've potted it on many times, and it just grows and grows and grows. And this particular cactus has also been on numerous house moves with me. It came all the way over from England and to live in Ireland with me when I moved over to Ireland in 2006, and moved numerous times as well. And it's one that has these gorgeous soft spines, so it's one that doesn't bite, lovely to touch, so it's safe to have if you have young children or pets as well. They're not going to get stabbed by any sharp spines because they have these golden hair-like spines that are soft to the touch, and they're arranged in the most gorgeous aesthetic appearance. Just look at that, it's a stunning cactus to grow. So as I say, I've had this for around 25 years, and I've potted it on over the years, got bigger and bigger, and it is one of my most prized beauties in my collections. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how I care for this cactus now. And if you have this cactus, it's a popular one to have in collections. Hopefully it will help you growing it too. Now these particular cacti, as I say, they're also known as Notocactus magnificus. In fact, when I first got this all them years ago, it was labelled as Notocactus magnificus, but it's more commonly known now as Perodia magnifica. And as you can see, the name is very perfect for it because it is a magnificent looking cactus, and it's a cactus that produces the most gorgeous of golden blooms during the spring and summer. And I'll show you a photograph now of how gorgeous the blooms are on this particular Perodia. And this is mine when it's been in bloom. Beautiful, golden, soft, shiny, beautiful blooms. The beautiful golden blooms sort of remind me of large sort of golden buttercups. it's the colour of them. They're very beautiful and shiny petals on them, and it's quite an easy blooming cactus as well, as long as you can give them what they need. So when it comes to the lighting, they love to have plenty of sunshine, and this will also help to encourage flowering. These particular Perodias can take a little bit part sun and part shade. They're not a cactus that needs very strong sun, such as a lot of the Pharaoh cactus varieties do, such as this one here or this one here. They can sort of flower in sort of a less sunny position, but ideally if you live in the northern hemisphere, such as I do here in Northern Ireland, they love as much sun as you can give them, and they'll produce flowers. So a nice sunny position. And when it comes to the soil, they need a very well draining cactus mix, as do all types of desert cacti. And I make my own soil mix of 3 equal parts of loam based soil, LOAM, John Innes number 2 I use, a brand by Clover, mixed with equal parts of sharp horticultural sand and sharp horticultural grit. If I don't have sand, then I'll use perlite instead, but I always like to use 3 equal parts ideally. And if you want to know how to make a well draining cactus soil and what I use for the majority of all of my cacti, then do check out a video I've made on how to make cactus and succulent soil. Links to that video will be up above. Now with the watering, these cacti, they can be slightly rot prone. They don't like to be kept in wet, damp soil for too long. Now, I would recommend from spring until sort of late summer, early fall time, usually from around mid-April time, I would water this cactus, give it a watering, and then let the soil totally dry out before I would water again. And this is important because if the cacti are left too damp in soil, they can rot. So as I mentioned, a very well draining cactus soil, and water only every time the soil has dried out. And during the winter time, sort of from mid-September up until mid-April, I keep this Perogia magnifica totally dry. I haven't given this any water yet. I'm going to be watering it up probably in the next week or two when it's around the middle of April. And that's because if I was to water this during the winter time, it could inevitably rot when it's having its winter dormancy. Now, saying that, the reason why I don't water mine during winter is because it's here in my polytunnel that is kept at a minimum temperature of 41 Fahrenheit, which is about 5 Celsius, and it's kept cool and dry. If I had this Perogia in a warm house over the winter, especially if it's in a sunny window and it's got the heating in there, I may have to give a wee bit of water maybe every 6 weeks, just enough to stop the roots from dying back or from shriveling too much. But you know, in general, if you have this cactus, a cool and dry winter rest period will also help to encourage flowering. And talking about the watering, I often get asked with my clumping cacti, such as this one is a good example, Lynn, how on earth do you water them? Because it's not easy to, with overhead watering, I do that with some of my cacti, such as this one, and it helps to keep dust off them as well. With a cactus like this that has multiple clumps, I don't recommend overhead watering, and the reason for that is if I was to do that, water can collect in between these many pups, and it's like this with a lot of clumping cacti such as Mammillarias as well. Water can stay in between these clumps and then rot can happen, especially if it gets very hot during the daytime, and it can be a disaster for them. So with cacti like this that are very, very clumping and where there's not much space around the pot to water them, what I would do then, because there's just a little bit of space here, I would then use one of these long handled nozzles, and I'll just show you. It's one of these water pump sprays like this, and this is what I'm going to be doing when I water off all my cacti. Long handles, so not only are they great to reach all of the cacti at the back that are difficult to reach with the watering can, they're perfect to put right in at the base here and water thoroughly. And this is what I like to use for watering any clumping cacti because it's very difficult with a watering can. And as I say, avoid overhead watering with these type of clumping cacti. If you have this cactus and you have just the one head, as I did all them years ago, it's fine to give overhead watering and it helps to keep a bit of the dust off, but avoid it with the clumping ones, obviously. And then feeding, I would fertilise this beautiful Perogia usually probably once a month in the spring and summer, or with every 3rd to 4th watering. As I say, it depends on how much I have to water it and what the weather happens to be like, whether it's a warm summer or a cool summer. But roughly with every 3rd to 4th watering, I would use a half strength tomato feed. And you might think, Lynn, why use tomato feed with cacti? Well, that's because it's high in potassium, and in my experience anyway, it really does help to kick extra flowers, buds and flowers on the cacti. And this is one that blooms for me every year without fail, magnificent flowers. And I would use the tomato feed at half the strength. And if you want to know why I like to use tomato feed and also how I feed my cacti with tomato feed, do watch a video I've made on why I like to use tomato feed to fertilise my cacti. Links to that video will also be up above. And also, if you want to see a video of this gorgeous Perogia when it does flower, I've made quite a few videos on my channel of this old stunner in beautiful bloom. Do check out that video. You get to see just how gorgeous these flowers are on this Perogia. And I'll also link that video up above. So I've talked about the watering, the light levels, the soil, the flowers, the feed. Now what about the temperature? Now this perogia can take, I'd say, a minimum of 5 degrees Celsius, which is 41 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what I keep this polytunnel at a minimum of with the heater in here during the winter months. I wouldn't recommend going lower than that. And ideally, in an ideal situation, they probably prefer to have about 7 Celsius. But I find if you can keep them cool and dry and don't water them during the winter, they can take 5C, 41 Fahrenheit, perfectly okay, as long as you don't water them over the winter. So that's the minimum temperature. The maximum temperature, they can take plenty of heat and sun. These cacti are actually native to southern Brazil, so they're used to very warm temperatures during the summer and also quite cool nights as well. So minimum of 5 Celsius, 41 Fahrenheit. Now, the propagation of these Perogia magnificas, the most common way will be by seed. They're quite easy to grow from seed. I've grown quite a few Perogias from seed. I haven't grown this particular one from seed yet. It has produced flowers and seed pods, but I often end up giving the seeds away. But it is an easy one to grow from seed. And if you want to know how to grow cactus from seed, this is sort of the time of year now to get sowing seeds. I've got quite a few different cactus seeds I'm going to be sowing this spring. Then do check out a video I have made on how to grow cacti from seed. And I'll link that video up above. And also the other way, it's obviously from the pups, the propagation. I personally like to leave all of these pups on here. I think they look amazing, and this is what makes this particular Perogia such a gorgeous specimen with all of its pups. So you don't have to remove them. People often say, do I have to remove them? No, you don't. I leave them on. However, if you want to have more plants, then you can remove them. And if you want to know how to remove cactus pups, sorry about all these videos, guys, but hopefully it will help you guys out if you're new to growing cacti. If you want to know how to remove cactus pups and to propagate them, I've also made a video on how to remove cactus pups to propagate them, and links to that video will also be up above. So I hope you enjoyed that video on my Perogia magnifica that I've grown for 25 years, and it has been quite a long time in my life. So thank you so much for watching, everyone, and your amazing comments and all your support. If you haven't done already, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell. Do follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at Desert Plants of Avalon, and check out my website for lots of blogs on there, as well as growing tips on how to grow many different types of cacti and succulents. desertplantsofavalon.com. I want to wish you all a fantastic cactus powered day. Bye. If you like me, leave a comment in the comments down below.